Sleep paralysis is one of the most unsettling experiences the human mind can produce. Not because it is dangerous, but because it feels so real. One moment you are asleep, and the next you are awake enough to understand that something is wrong, yet completely unable to move your body. Your arms feel heavy, your chest feels tight, and no matter how hard you try, your muscles refuse to respond. Many people attempt to scream or call for help, only to realize no sound comes out. In those moments, time feels distorted, fear escalates quickly, and the brain searches desperately for an explanation. Make sure to stay until the end for a story about my terrifying experience with sleeping paralysis. Now, let us begin. What makes sleep paralysis especially disturbing is that it occurs during wakefulness. Unlike a dream, you know where you are. You recognize your bedroom. You may even see familiar objects around you. But the rules of reality feel broken. You are conscious, aware, and alert, yet trapped inside a body that will not obey. To understand why this happens, it helps to understand how sleep normally works. When you fall asleep, your brain transitions through multiple stages. Early stages are light sleep, where you can still wake easily. Later, the brain enters deeper stages and eventually reaches REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. This is the stage most associated with vivid dreams. During REM sleep, the brain is extremely active. In many ways, it resembles wakefulness, but at the same time, the body is deliberately immobilized. This immobilization is called REM atonia, and its purpose is protective. During dreams, the brain simulates movement, danger, running, falling, speaking, and reacting. If the body were free to move, people would physically act out their dreams. To prevent this, the brain temporarily shuts down the signals that control most voluntary muscles. In a typical sleep cycle, REM atonia ends before consciousness returns. But in sleep paralysis, the timing is disrupted. The brain wakes up first while the body remains locked in paralysis. This creates a situation where awareness returns before mobility does. This mismatch is the core of sleep paralysis. The mind suddenly becomes conscious inside a body that still believes it is dreaming. Because REM sleep is associated with intense imagery and emotion, dream content can spill over into waking awareness. This is why hallucinations are so common during sleep paralysis. One of the most frequently reported symptoms is the sense of a presence. People often describe feeling that someone is standing near them, sitting on their chest, watching from a doorway, or looming close by. This experience is remarkably consistent across different cultures and time periods. Long before modern sleep science existed, people described similar sensations using supernatural explanations. From a neurological perspective, this makes sense. During REM sleep, the brain's threat detection systems are highly active. The amygdala, which processes fear, remains alert. Meanwhile, the rational parts of the brain responsible for logical evaluation wake up more slowly. The result is heightened fear combined with reduced cognitive control. In other words, the brain feels afraid before it has time to understand why. Research supports this explanation. Brain imaging studies suggest that during sleep paralysis, emotional centers remain active while higher level reasoning systems lag behind. This imbalance makes fear feel intense and immediate, even in the absence of real danger. Another common symptom is chest pressure. Many people report the sensation of something heavy pressing down on them, making it difficult to breathe. This sensation is partially physiological. During REM sleep, breathing patterns become shallow and irregular. When consciousness returns during paralysis, awareness of breathing increases, making normal variation feel alarming. The sensation is also intensified by anxiety. When fear rises, breathing feels even more restricted. The combination can create the convincing illusion that something external is physically restraining you. Auditory hallucinations are also common. Some people hear footsteps, knocking, whispers, buzzing, humming, or voices calling their name. These sounds are internally generated but feel external because the brain's sensory filters are still in a dreamlike state. Visual hallucinations vary widely. Some people see shadowy figures, others see faces, shapes, animals, or unfamiliar forms. Often these images are brief and partially formed, as if the brain cannot fully commit to the hallucination. Studies published in journals like Sleep and Sleep Medicine Reviews suggest that up to 40% of people will experience sleep paralysis at least once in their lifetime. For many, it occurs only once or twice, often during periods of stress, sleep deprivation, or irregular sleep schedules. Common triggers include pulling all-nighters, sleeping too little for several days in a row, jet lag, shift work, and inconsistent bedtimes. Sleeping on the back has also been shown repeatedly to increase the likelihood of sleep paralysis. One theory is that this position affects airway stability and sleep fragmentation, increasing transitions between REM sleep and wakefulness. A very relatable example is someone falling asleep exhausted after a long day, only to wake up unable to move, heart racing, convinced something is wrong. Another common scenario is waking up early in the morning, drifting in and out of sleep, and suddenly becoming aware while the body remains locked. There is also a subgroup of people who experience recurrent sleep paralysis. Research suggests this is more common in individuals with anxiety disorders, post traumatic stress disorder, depression, or chronic stress. However, it can also occur without any underlying mental health condition. What makes sleep paralysis particularly confusing is how real it feels. Because you are partially awake, your memory forms normally. This is unlike most dreams, which fade quickly. Sleep paralysis episodes are often remembered in vivid detail years later. Cultural explanations have shaped how people interpret these experiences. In many cultures, sleep paralysis was historically explained as a spiritual attack or visitation. These interpretations emerged because the experience felt external, not imagined. Modern science shows that the brain generates the experience internally, but knowing this does not always reduce fear in the moment. The episode usually ends when myotonia shuts off and motor control returns. This may be triggered by a small physical movement, like wiggling a toe or tongue, or by calming the breath. Once paralysis ends, fear often remains high for a short time due to lingering adrenaline. Importantly, sleep paralysis is not harmful. It does not stop breathing, damage the brain, or indicate that something is wrong with your body. It is a state error, not a dysfunction. Understanding what sleep paralysis is can dramatically reduce its impact. When people recognize the sensation early, fear decreases, episodes shorten, and some learn to remain calm until paralysis passes. Some individuals even use sleep paralysis as a gateway to lucid dreaming, where awareness is maintained while entering a dream state intentionally. This illustrates how closely connected sleep paralysis is to dreaming rather than danger. But let me tell you about my experience with sleep paralysis. It must have been in a very stressful period, as though this would happen to me almost every 2 days, and in some cases, every day. I think it was in the period I was in school with a lot of exams coming up. Stress, even unhappiness. I was not satisfied with where I was in life, and that brought me lots of stress. I slept bad and I was diagnosed with chronic insomnia, meaning that it would take me 2 to 3 days before I slept once. This would go on for many months before it stopped. But let's begin. What did happen to me in those months? Well, I started to have sleeping paralysis every time I managed to sleep, and it would scare the flip out of me every single time. I can remember my first sleeping paralysis very well. I just woke up in an early morning. The sun was up. I could open my eyes, but I could not move. Not a single inch, no matter how much I tried. Suddenly, a woman comes into the room, opening the door slowly. At first, I thought this to be my mom. She kept walking closer and closer, but here's what's terrifying. I could only see her from the waist and below, meaning I couldn't see her face, only her walking towards me. I remember that I could talk, so I tried to talk to what I thought was my mom. I kept repeating it. Mom? Mom, is that you? I got no replies. Suddenly, she stopped walking right in front of me. Still, I could not see her face. Then it happened. She suddenly crouched down, bending her whole waist and neck to look at me in the eyes. It was not my mom. Then I woke up sweating, grasping for air. Then I realized what had happened. No, I told myself, because I feared that it would become a normal thing for me as it did. I don't remember all of them, but I remember the second one I had. I just woke up again like last time, after not sleeping for 3 days. It was sunny outside, I have a window above my bed, and I can remember it being slightly open. Then suddenly, I could hear people laughing. But here's the twist. It was not coming from the window. It was coming from my TV, which is right in front of my bed. My TV was suddenly turned on, with static as well. I would hear people laying and crying from the TV with a lot of static in it. It became louder and louder. I could almost feel my ear bleed. Then suddenly I woke up just like last time. I was struggling for air, sweating as always, and even though I could move again, I couldn't move very well. This period was a very dark time for me, as though every day I kept struggling with sleep and my constant nightmares kept coming to me. A few months later, it finally stopped. I could sleep well again. Ish. I slept every other day now, and it kept becoming better and better until I could sleep normally again. Surely enough, it stopped. After I stopped caring so much, I started to take things as they come, and that doesn't mean that I did not try. It just meant that it was not the end of the world if it did go bad. The most important thing to remember is that sleep paralysis feels threatening because of how the brain prioritizes survival. The mind assumes danger when control is removed. This is a protective response, not a warning of harm. If you experience sleep paralysis, you are not broken, possessed, or unsafe. Your brain simply woke up before your body. And while the experience can be frightening, it is temporary, explainable, and far more common than people realize. That was all for today's episode of Explainify. Be sure to tell me what you guys' thoughts about the animation style I'm going for in my videos. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, be sure to like and subscribe. See ya.